This conference will now be recorded.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining the Minority Contractor Outreach meeting. If you will bear with us for just a few more minutes, we're going to give everybody a chance to get on and join the call. We'll get started in about 5 minutes. Good afternoon. This is Holly Knight, and I'm just welcoming you to the Minority Contractor Outreach meeting. We're going to give just a few more minutes. I think we'll start at 5 after, but we wanted to let everybody get on and join and get settled in before we start. All right, I think we're at that hour, and just wanted to welcome everyone. My name is Holly Knight. I'm the CEO with BGC Advantage. We are the development partners of the Springfield Housing Authority, and I'm going to welcome our team and remind everybody that this call is being recorded so that we may play it for those who missed the call, or that if somebody on the call wants to share it, it will be available for viewing, and you can share it as well. So I'd like to start off with introducing Katrina Wolfram. She is the Executive Director of the Springfield Housing Authority. And again, Springfield Housing Authority and BGC Advantage, we are development partners. Katrina, are you there? Can you say a few words? Okay, well, maybe she will be joining us in just a bit. Again, I'd like to go around and certainly introduce some of our other esteemed guests and partners. I'd like to start with John Oakey Thomas. He is our design expert, and we certainly rely on him for ideas and when we run into problems. And he has actually completed the design for a first project that's actually under construction, and he has a great deal of experience working with the type of housing that we will have in the project. So, Mr. Thomas, would you like to just say hello and introduce yourself a little bit more?
Oh, sure, Holly. I'd like to say good afternoon to everybody. And for those of you who are on the West Coast, good morning. And just first of all, I want to say this is a wonderful project that I think it's going to benefit the citizens of Springfield. And that's my number one priority, is to make sure that we provide a livable environment for our fellow citizens here in Springfield. And as Holly mentioned, we've worked on a few of their projects, and we got a series that are going on right now that are under construction. So this is a partnership that has developed over the years, so to speak. And I wanted to say that we are very excited about this project. We hope that this project can also get on the move so that we can provide a livable environment for the citizens here in Springfield. So I welcome you all to this outreach, especially minority contractors. Any of you that are interested in this project, you can contact me directly so that we can give you an expanded view of what we are trying to do on this project. But again, it is a wonderful experience and a great partnership for us to be here. We are the design team for the project, and we hope that at the end of the day, we will be coming up with a project that kind of makes sense for all of the citizens that are going to be living in this space. So I'm glad to be here. And again, if there's any questions that needs to be asked, I'm always available. Thank you, Holly.
Thank you very much. And again, Mr. Thomas is not just working on the design, but he also will be involved in monitoring the progress and monitoring the construction process throughout the entire life of the project. So really from, cradle to grave, and we really appreciate that extensive knowledge. I do want to, before we move on, I would ask that everybody in the message box, if you would please type your name and organization so that we do have a record of those that participated on the call today. I'd appreciate that if you will do that now. And again, just put in your name and your organization. And just to follow up with Mr. Thomas's comments, this is for minority contractor outreach. We are also very interested in having folks who live in subsidized housing or that are from some of the communities that are not as affluent, that need some assistance. We would love to have what we call the Section 3 people to come and work. So if you know of anybody who's in any of the HUD subsidized or rural development subsidized type project, please let them know that there will be jobs on site available, because we certainly want to reach out to those communities as well. So appreciate that thought and those comments. Next, I'd like to introduce to you Josh Stringer with Snyder Construction. Snyder is located in Springfield. However, they do work across the United States. They're very experienced with both commercial and residential type projects, as well as affordable and public housing. So Josh, would you please introduce yourself and anybody else that you that's on the call that you'd like to recognize?
Yeah, sure will. Thank you, Holly. As Holly mentioned, I'm Josh Stringer with Snyder Construction Group. We will be the general contractor on the Pinnacle on the Park project. As was previously mentioned, this is the second phase, which we're involved in the first phase, which is Keystone, with both BGC to Advantage and Okie Thomas. So we look to continue to build on that relationship. In regards to minority participation, we strongly encourage and welcome any participation. John briefly touched on questions, concerns. We welcome any questions, any concerns. If there's any further scope definition that's needed to give a clear vision of the project, we're committed to basically an extensive level of communication with all of the interested trade partners to ensure that a full understanding of the scope is known and that we maximize the participation. We look forward to continuing our relationship with both BGC Advantage as well as Okie Thomas and continuing to improve Springfield.
Thank you. I'd like to introduce a couple of our team members. Jennifer Croxton is the project manager for the entire project, and really from inception and strategic planning until after it's finished, with closing and moving to construction. Jennifer, can you say hello? We always appreciate all your hard work, and she answers so many questions day in and day out and really keeps the balls rolling.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm sorry. It is nice to be here, and if there's any questions that anybody has, I'll be glad to answer them. Just shoot me an email or give me a call.
So thank you, Jennifer. We appreciate all your hard work as well. And Brian Pickett is with our construction analyst with BGC Advantage, and he will be a liaison between Housing Authority and BGC, and really also just work hand in hand with construction and the architect to answer questions, make suggestions, jump in, and once again make sure that we are delivering on what we told everybody that we would do. So without further ado, I think we'll jump into the presentation. Oh, nothing happened. How about that? This is the agenda today, and I'm very sorry. If Miss Wolfram jumps on the call, we will certainly let her introduce herself. I'm sure something.
Hey, Holly. I'm
oh,
here.
yes, you're here.
Yes, I apologize. I had a
Technical
4-hour
difficulty.
board meeting this morning and I went out to drive the property. So I apologize.
Well, we would love to have you just introduce yourself, talk a little bit about your team and how important this project is for the residents of the Housing Authority.
Well, I'm excited to have Pinnacle on the Park. It's 2 of our high rises, and right now we have 297 family sites going on in construction currently, and then we'll get these high rises renovated and rehabbed and some elevator updates, a lot of updates that the residents need in their apartments, and just making it a more comfortable living space for them, as well as our team of employees here at HAS.
Well, thank you. And BGC again is so very proud to be working in partnership with the Housing Authority of Springfield. And I do want to say this, since this will be posted, for public consumption, that Ms. Wolfram has a great deal of experience, and I have found that her commitment to improving the quality of lives for the Housing Authority residents is just truly phenomenal. And she has studied and gone to great lengths and does a lot of analytical work to make sure that she is bringing the very best to the community and the very best opportunity. So Ms. Wolfram, we certainly thank you for your leadership and all that you have done to help transform the Housing Authority stock and find those financial support and find those investments for your residents.
Thank you.
Just going to kind of move into the meat of the project. You can see some of the other projects that BGC has been involved in. We are an experienced development organization and work often and very closely with the low-income housing tax credits, public housing, and certainly coordinating with design and general contractor services, as well as the Housing Authority. We have worked to leverage a great deal of funds for our Housing Authority. We have $975 million in the pipeline, and we've closed $460 million in the past 4 years. So these projects actually leverage private funds, and I think that that's really important for the community as well as for job creation, both during construction and after. So one of the things that people often ask, and I just want that everybody who is joining the call to understand that why would you go through the process of repositioning public housing? Well, Ms. Wolfram in her board some time ago started looking at what their capital needs were and what the government or HUD was funding. And there was a study that was done by HUD, and they used that as a resource. And just to give you an idea, it showed that the Housing Authority was receiving somewhere between $1,000 to $1,200 annually per unit. So let's just say $1,000 annually per unit. However, their needs that were demonstrated are more than $25,000 a unit. So you can see there was a true imbalance between what the government was sharing and what the needs were. So it's one of the reasons that RAD was developed. It gives the Rental Assistance Demonstration Program, gives housing authorities the opportunity to secure their revenue long-term, and also to really participate in what other affordable housing developers do. And then that's to leverage private equity and debt to really bring the dollars to the units for renovations. So repositioning, so lots of people want to know what that means, and it really means that we're preserving those public housing units, and they will still continue to reach those that are most in need. Typically, where new admissions are 30% of the area median income, and we could go up to 60% of the area median income. And really, it preserves the affordable housing in a physical unit, and then also the subsidy is changed and becomes a voucher, which is much more long-term and much more sustainable. So what does this mean for residents? Again, the units were built some time ago, and while the Housing Authority certainly has, really worked to maintain the units, with $1,000 that's being funded, there's just not another way to address all the physical needs that these units have. So by leveraging these dollars, these units will be in better physical condition. There will be lower utilities for the project, and long-term rental assistance will be available for those residents to stay in place and utilize as long as they choose to utilize it. And then there's an opportunity for them to move on with the voucher if they choose to do so. Just to kind of give you an idea before RAD, and I think I've said this a couple of times, housing authorities across the country are just not able to keep up with the physical needs. I know Mr. Thomas sees this time and time again when people only have money to do, maybe they can only do the hot water heater, but really they should be looking at major building components and major systems, but they really just have to Band-Aid, because they just don't have the money. So after RAD, there's really a comprehensive approach to the renovations. There is money that's leveraged from the outside, and of course the physical security of those units is viable for much longer. So again, I mentioned Section 3 earlier, but we do actively seek out those folks that are qualified as participants. They can be minority-owned, women-owned, small and disadvantaged businesses. We certainly want to work with those that come from other developments that are HUD subsidized. And we are happy to help have conversations if you're not in any of those. How could you participate in the project? And certainly there are a lot of opportunities for that. Again, minority contractor outreach, Section 3, we do that in all of our projects because we truly want to involve the community and give opportunities for local vendors and local contractors to participate. This is just today's information, and again, it will be available, and you can see there's information to reach Mr. Stringer at Snyder Construction, and I think that they will take business cards, pre-applications, any type of way you want to stay in touch with them. So Snyder Construction Group, again, I think Josh told you a little bit about their organization, and they have a lot of relationships with trade partners. Josh is one of the best estimators that I've met, and a lot of the general contractors. And I think that they are also very practical and very fair in their approach, which really fits in with what Mr. Thomas is about and what VGC and the Housing Authority about. So, Mr. Thomas, I'm going to turn it over to you if you will give us just kind of the project overview and lead us through, kind of the next steps and what's coming up.
Yeah, thank you, Holly. What we're looking at, of course, is looking at renovating and revitalizing two towers, so to speak. We have one that is called Stillwell Tower, and the other one is called South Tower. The Stillwell Tower consists of about 142 units. And the goal with the Stillwell Tower is to upgrade all of the handicap units. Right now, majority of the units that are called handicap are not actually fully ADA accessible. So the idea is to bring all of those units to the level that can accommodate in a true ADA standard. And then, of course, there's going to be a minor work and some extensive work done within the hallways, the corridors, the public spaces, and also create additional spaces for common areas where tenants can gather and be able to at least get some additional opportunities to roam around the complex, so to speak. This, one of them, I believe, is 11-story building, and the other one is 8 or 9-story building. But in essence, you're looking at a vertical construction that requires for us to make sure that moving people from one floor to another becomes very, very essential. And that's one of the reasons why we want to make sure that the vertical circulation, which in this case will be the elevator, well, we are going to be spending some money in renovating the elevators in order to be able to bring them up to par or bring them up to standard. We are going to renovate a few of the exterior spaces, especially over at South Tower. Right now, South Tower is what I will call a stucco building. We are going to take out the skin of the building and try to reinvent the building in terms of exterior finishes system or any other system that allows them, the building, to be able to have a better envelope, which in turn gives you better insulation. So in order to reduce the utility cost for the building. In general, what you're looking at is going to be an overall, what I would call a full-scale renovation, especially on the first floors over Stillwell, and especially on the first floor at South Tower. And the idea is to create a commonality between the public spaces so that the public spaces can be more inviting, even though you may have an opportunity to at least be in one room or be in your space, so to speak. You still have the pleasure or the opportunity to be able to access all of the common spaces that is going to be provided in these spaces. Now, as far as the exterior is concerned, or as far as the site is concerned, the site configuration itself is not going to change. It is just going to be enhanced in terms of landscaping and also in terms of making sure that the parking is updated to the point where you can be able to access those spaces logically and hopefully without any problems, with ease, so to speak. There's going to be fencing that is going to take place. I believe one of them is actually in the process of being fenced at this point, but Stillwell will be fenced within this project or within this program. And the goal is to also create additional security for the tenants and for the occupants of the building. And we anticipate at this point that this particular construction will start taking place during the fourth quarter of 2021, which is probably between October and November side is what I'm anticipating at this point. And we anticipate that the construction itself will take about 18 months to complete. So we're basically looking for as many people as we can that can register that has the minority business enterprise, women business enterprise, or Section 8 entities that are interested in this project that can come in and be a part of the construction team in order to help to bring this project to fruition. One of the good things about this project is it's a Davis-Bacon project, so which means that the pay scale is a little bit higher than what you would normally get in a public sector, so to speak. So that type of enhancement also help you, especially those of you who are interested in developing your business, either as a subcontractor or as a supplier. This will help you in order to be able to at least give you more opportunities to where you can grow your business. It is, again, a what I will call a once in a lifetime opportunity in this particular case, because this is not, there's not so many projects that you see that people go aggressively looking for participation for MBE, WBE, and Section 3 entities. So I will encourage you all to take advantage of this situation in order to grow your business. It is, of course, this project requires that we do e-verify and e-verify enrollment. So if you're already participating in the program, it is not a big deal. But if you're not participating in the program, we can assist you in helping you to get into the program so that you can enroll in the e-verify program. It is required for this particular project. But again, if you have not participated in any e-verify program, we can help you in order to get you into the program. And of course, this has a 10-hour certification requires for OSHA. I'm sure majority of you that has been in construction business knows that you have to have OSHA certification. But again, if you do not have that, this we can help you in order to be able to help you to get that certification so that you can be a part of this program. I will again encourage each and every one of you to do your level best to participate in this program. Call Josh if and when you have any questions, or you can direct your questions to me, and I will do my best to answer your question. But overall, this is essentially what we're looking at: 142 units for steel tower renovation and 84 units for south tower renovation.
And excuse me, Mr. Thomas, so some people who might be listening, either during this broadcast or after, may not know what E-Verify or what OSHA is. Can you just talk
Sure.
acronyms?
Yeah, E-Verify is basically making sure that you are a citizen or a permanent resident and you have the certificate or the requirement for you to work in the States, to work in the United States. So for those of you who are citizens, you do not have to have certification that requires for you to have E-Verify, but you have to enroll so that people can be sure that you are a citizen. And for those of you who are permanent residents, if you have the green card that allows you to work, then of course you can enroll in the E-Verify. Now, if you don't have either, if you're not a member of either of the two, unfortunately, you cannot participate in this particular program because it requires for you to either be a citizen or be a permanent resident. And as far as the OSHA 10 is concerned, this is just the requirement that basically say that you have some knowledge of construction safety. It's not enough to be in construction, but you need to at least have some knowledge that you are working in a safe environment, number one, and number two, that you have taken the necessary certification that allows you to be able to work in an environment keeping safety in mind, knowing fully well what to do in and around construction site so that you can keep yourself safe. This is really for your own benefit. It is not for the benefit of the government. It's for your own benefit to keep you safe in a construction site. So again, either one of those that if you're interested in, we can be of assistance to help to get you to that point. Yes, Holly?
And I was just going to say, excuse me, but when you talked about, you know, the safety requirements, I do want to let participants know that this will be an occupied rehab. The units that are not being worked on will be vacated, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But cleanliness of the site and being readily available to identify contractors, you know, politeness, just having good manners while on site. I know that sounds kind of funny for me to say, but we are very concerned about that. These are people's homes that we're improving, and I know on behalf of Ms. Wolfram and myself, it is important to just be respectful that other people are living in the working environment. And so we certainly don't want to have any hazards or any rudeness. And, you know, everybody is enduring the construction process in an effort to have a better and more enhanced development at the end of the process. So when you talked about the OSHA safety, it rung a bell with me, and I just wanted to say I know that Ms. Wolfram and I and you have had those conversations and how important it is, you know, for subcontractors and the GC to keep the site clean and tidy and just be respectful of others.
Yes, and that is the key, knowing that you'll be working in an occupied space. So we want to make sure that you're being mindful of the tenants that are living in those spaces.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to turn it over to discuss the bid process with Josh Stringer. And Josh, I'm sorry, I wasn't sure if any of your other partners, if Dustin was going to be on the phone or not. So I just wanted to stop and realize I might have been remiss to mention him and his name if he was joining us, if he wanted to say anything. So.
Yeah, Dustin available to be on today, but Brandy Bailey, our Director of Business Development, is on as well, who's also involved with some of the interior design on Keystone Phase 1. So Brandy, if you'd like to introduce yourself before we get into the bid process, that's perfectly fine as well. You're on mute.
I was muted, sorry folks. I'm Brandy Bailey. I'm Vice President of Business Development for Snyder, and just kind of help with keeping our relationships intact and putting people together when needed for some synergy, and that's kind of my role here. So hi.
All right, so getting into the construction process, we've kind of broken this up, and we'll address the pre-construction, which we call the bid process, as well as the construction process separately. The pre-construction process we feel is one of the very important processes in any project. That's kind of where the tone of the project is defined. It's extremely critical to accurately identify, you know, scope and price the work at the beginning. That's our only opportunity to have a comprehensive scope, a comprehensive price, and ensure to our client and community that we have, you know, all of our bases covered out of the gate and have a good start. So whenever we get the bid documents, we'll work alongside John Oakey Thomas and his team as they wrap those up. We distribute bid invitations electronically. If there's any questions or alternative methods in which you would prefer to receive an invitation to bid, please let us know. We'll advertise at local plan rooms, basically broadcast the project so that we're in hopes that it reaches everyone. In regards to the invitation to bid, we will also accompany it with a preliminary construction schedule. Projects of this nature, not only, you know, scope bidding, but schedule is equally as important. It's imperative that everyone fully understands the phasing. As Holly referenced, these facilities are partially occupied, so it's critical we understand the phasing, the scheduling, also concurrent work when we're working at multiple developments. Snyder Construction Group, we'll go through and we scope out the project in individual scopes and the project as a whole. Some of these projects, the scopes get a little complicated, or, you know, there may be more questions on renovations and new construction. That's why we go through a detailed takeoff, detailed scoping. We keep those notes internally to us for our verification purposes, but we have no problem with sharing those if it would help further define the scope, clarify items, or simply for a checklist for purposes of comfort of prior to submitting a bid. Typically on these projects, depending on the bid market and what's out there, we're anticipating about a 3-week bid period from the issuance of the construction documents. If there's any fluctuations, modifications that would be necessary to that, we can adjust. We want to make sure and not just set it to a 3-week bid period, but we want to do what's best for all the participating trade partners as well as the project as a whole. One thing we really drive on is the encouragement of questions, RFIs, open discussion during the bid process. We hear from some of our trade partners a lot of time that's, there are other contractors that are not as welcoming. We feel more comfortable and confident in our trade partners when we have thorough discussions, submit RFIs, really discuss the project, the sequencing during the pre-construction process, so that any items are uncovered at that time and are reflected in the bid and subcontract amounts. In regards to subcontractor and supplier feedback and bid results, we understand that trade partners, subcontractors, suppliers, you guys work as hard on these projects as we do. We will provide bid results. We typically request an email, with your request of bid results. Those sometimes are not available immediately after the bid, the day of the bid or the day after. We do like to take our time, make sure and get everyone apples to apples and make sure that we have complete information before providing any results. But we will provide bid results to anyone that requests. There's really no special requirements in regard to bid submissions. All that we ask is that it's on your company letterhead and that the inclusions, exclusions are clearly identified. And if you hold any certifications that would be important to the project, or if you're designated as a MBE, WBE, or if you're a Section 3 registered entity, we ask that you list that or indicate so on your bid proposal. One thing too, when you turn your bids in, we don't simply take the bid, plug the number in and run with it. We will have conversation back and forth, scope it out, questions, clarifications to get us confident that you fully understand the scope of work, because we want it to be a good and profitable job for everyone. The project schedule, that's one thing on the phase projects that I mentioned earlier that we have to pay close attention to. With 2 developments, the South Tower and Stillwell Tower, there will be concurrent work. We're anticipating them running concurrently, and we'll get into phasing in the next slide for the construction process. But that preliminary schedule that will be attached with the invitations to bid, it will need to be referenced to make sure that trade partners do not overextend themselves, or make sure they have a full understanding before they thought maybe they couldn't take on the full portion of the work. We do ask all trade partners to provide a payment and performance bond rate with your bid. We do not require bid bonds, but we do require a rate for payment and performance bond. There are many different variables and factors that go into if we require a payment and performance bond of a subcontractor, but if we have that rate and know that you are able to bond the project, we will discuss the bonding requirements and if it will be required for each respective trade partner. Potential split of scope between South and Stillwell Towers. As I mentioned, concurrent work, we don't want everyone to get anyone to get overextended. There is a potential that we would award trades for both projects or both locations or each individual locations. There's several factors that go into that decision-making process. We want to make sure and provide opportunities, so we split scopes up. If there was, for instance, if there was a cabinet subcontractor that was not comfortable with taking on the full 200 plus units, but could take on the 84 units or 82 at South, then we would consider splitting that. So if there's any reservations about overload, if you think, where could I fit in, or is there an opportunity if I'm a smaller contractor, feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to discuss those to make sure that opportunities are provided for all.
If I can just add to that by saying that they, even though they may not require payment and performance bond, or if you get scared because of payment and performance bond, keep in mind that SBA do have a program that can allow you to get into their payment and performance bond to allow you to be able to to bid on this project, or at least to be able to retain this project. And if you have any questions about that, we can help on this side as well. At this point, I would also like to introduce our project manager, who is actually going to be overseeing the design here. I don't know if he wants to say a word or two. Gene Douglas is the project manager for this, will be the project manager for this project. And so if he wants to say a word or two, I'm not sure. I guess not.
No, John, I'm here.
Yeah.
No, you guys have all covered everything extremely well. And as everybody said, we really want to try to help anyone that wants to make a different change in their business. And this is a good group to work with.
Thank you. Thank you both. We look forward to it, Mr. Douglas. I'm going to move on, and I think, Josh, I think you covered a lot of these. Do you want to, is there anything else that you want to add? I may have not advanced quickly enough.
Yeah, just a couple quick items on this. A lot of this has been covered. We anticipate about 3 floors. This is preliminary, but 3 floors of each tower under construction per phase, and that will run concurrent. As with any other project, we will have field staff as well as a project manager allocated to the project. We want to make sure to have the adequate amount of support for all trade partners to ensure that, you know, we're there for you as support. Subcontracts in place prior to the commencement of work, that's a standard requirement. The rest of these are, you know, a lot of standard stuff that we don't need to go into detail on. One item I do want to touch on is material availability. With the market, the condition of the current market as it is, we ask that, you know, during the bid process and moving into construction, if it is known that there are materials that are experiencing any unusual lead times or, you know, just straight up lack of availability, we want to make sure and identify those up front. You know, we're going to do our due diligence, but any input we have from subcontractors, suppliers, you know, they can further assist in us identifying those. You know, the world that we live in right now, that's super critical. But Holly, I think that's about it. And thank you for touching on earlier about the buildings being occupied. I mean, that's one thing we take pride in, is a clean job site. You know, we treat these as if our mother's living next door, so, or we try to at least. So.
Well, and I just want to go back and say to the participants listening that the general contractor, the architect, Ms. Wolfram and myself representing BGC, we are all very open to suggestions or ideas. One of our core values is, you know, innovation, and so we have been using new products that are on the market. We're not afraid to try things as long as, you know, we know that they've been tested and they're, you know, viable. So if you have if you can build the box better, please let us know, because we want the better box. We just don't know. So I appreciate that, you know, discussion about the supplies, and then just the climate that we're in right now. You know, I think we all have to be a little flexible as we move forward together. It is a partnership. We all have to work together to make this work. So just to talk a little bit about the relocation, I think, you know, Josh kind of hit on it. But what's really important to know is that every 6 to 8 weeks, we will be turning a phase. And it is very important that we hit these deadlines. We have investors that we have to respond to. There are people that are relocating and have to, you know, come back to these units. So, you know, we do appreciate honest conversation about anything that can hinder these deadlines and keep us from meeting our relocation timeline. And, you know, there is a housing preference, you know, for our residents and, you know, for voucher holders. And so we just, some of the people that we're moving are delicate. So we just want to be able to give enough advance notice and, you know, just hit those targets as we move forward. just in case you are not familiar with the Pinnacle on the Park project or the current what the current tower looks like, this is just a little rendering from Mr. Thomas's hard work. And then this is Stillwell. Again, you can see kind of a picture of it and what it looks like. And then just kind of a big picture scope of work. You can see that this is a complete renovation with bathrooms, kitchens, roofing systems, windows, resealing all of those windows. We will have some new updates with washer dryer. All the public corridors will be updated. New energy efficient Energy Star appliances. I think Ms. Wolfram and Mr. Thomas both talked about the importance of the elevators and their time for an update. And then also we will be ensuring that by site we will have ADA units, and we actually have 7 new ADA units, which will be exciting to be able to offer to the clientele. A very similar scope at Stillwell. Again, a heavy renovation, and there will be some site work at this, again, with the elevators. And so, again, we're very concerned about the ADA, and you'll see the upgrade to the ADA suites within Stillwell. Before I move on, Ms. Wolfram or John Oakey, Thomas, are there anything that you want to just discuss about the scope of work that folks should know?
No, I think you covered it on my side.
Okay.
No, I think I'm good. I would like to give kudos to the team for the Keystone properties. I was just out running around looking at the construction, and the sites are very clean. MHDC was out there taking pictures. I think it's going very smoothly, so I expect the same for Pinnacle on the Park. I don't see any issues with the construction and the team moving forward on this deal.
Good. Thank you. So Josh, do you want to go over some project deadlines? And I know we talked a little bit during Mr. Thomas's slides, but do you want to kind of hit these again?
Yeah, typically our bid period, like we mentioned earlier, is going to be about 3 weeks. The anticipated construction start date, tentatively speaking, I think John touched on earlier, it'll be fourth quarter of this year, sometime around October or November. The overall project schedule duration, as mentioned, these 2 towers will run concurrently so that we can reduce the project schedule as much as possible. We want to be, respectful of tenant relocations, but we also want to be efficient in the overall scheduling of the project. So we're looking between 16 and 18 months currently. The volume of concurrent unit work, again, there will be times, just due to the phasing and the nature of these projects, there'll be times that your trade may have no work going on. There may be times that your trade will be on the critical path at both towers. So again, that's why we send out a preliminary project schedule with the invitations to bid. We want to make sure that the full picture is known. And then the potential scope and complex splits, like we mentioned earlier, that's to the benefit, at times it's to our benefit, and at times it's to the trade partner's benefit. So we just want to make sure and, dissect these things, look at them from every direction that we can to make sure we make the decision that's best for everyone, to move forward and have a successful project.
Thank you. Good. And I will echo what Ms. Wolfram said. Our design team is excellent, but after that design is put in place, we're actually asking our GC to not only carry out that design and those directions, but we're also asking them to meet very tight deadlines, and under sometimes with the COVID situation where supplies might be short. Or I just learned that Sherman-Williams, if you're getting something out of the Dallas area, that market had freezing of all the pigment. So there are so many things that are happening that are odd and different these days that having a team that can adapt and move forward is really important. Just the next few slides are really just a few pictures of the developments and some floor plans. Here's the South Tower. Just trying to get an idea. Is there anything about the first floor? Is there anything, Mr. Thomas, that you want to make comment here?
No, I just would like to say as I mentioned earlier, the first floor is mostly public space, and then moving from the second floor all the way to the top floor to the ninth floor, all the residential spaces. And so what we're trying to do is to make sure that the tenants have a common space area where they can congregate, and that's going to be the focus of this project as well, is to make sure that the environment that we put our tenants in allows them to be able to express themselves, number one, and number two, it gives them the flexibility to be able to move around within the common spaces.
Good. Thank you. And this is a rendering post-construction. I think it's just absolutely beautiful. You can see a couple pictures. And here we get to the Stillwell project. And you want to give a little overview of the first floor here, and then we'll move to the residential.
Yes, again, the residential and the common spaces are mostly on the first floor. Most of the residential spaces on the first floor over here are going to be handicap accessible units. So ADA units are mostly going to be on the first floor, and that is to have an ease of being able to get in and out of the spaces, and being able to also utilize the common spaces without any problem or any issue at all. So again, it varies from one circulation to another, but at the end of the day, what we are trying to do is to locate people in the easiest and the most accessible route for them to be able to get in and out of the building.
Okay. And you can see this beautiful rendering with enhanced lighting. It will be certainly a showplace at the end of the reservation, at the end of the, not reservation, but renovation. You'll want to reserve your unit.
Yes.
And again, what a beautiful legacy for the community and you know, for the Housing Authority. I think it's so important to work to preserve these developments and you know, make them available so that folks of all incomes will have a nice place to live. Here's again a different view. Love those renderings. So I think we talked a little bit about some of these requirements earlier. Questions, like Mr. Thomas said, you can contact him or Mr. Stringer. And again, you know, I think that Josh kind of covered these, but again, there's a lot of opportunity, and both you can hear it in Mr. Thomas and Mr. Stringer are very willing to work with you and help you and show you resources and help you get through anything. We've all had places where we've had to start. So it is important that we lift our brother and sister up if they need a little help in finding those resources. So again, great employment opportunity, great opportunity if you're a vendor, and certainly those subcontractors. Yes, sir?
True.
Does somebody have something to say? Nope, okay. So I think this is it. We'll be happy to answer any questions and would love to hear from you. Again, if there's something that pops in your head, feel free to reach out to any of us. It is, like we all said, a team approach. We are so very proud and happy to be working with Ms. Wolfram. I will let you know that the RAD program, the Rental Demonstration Program, is a demonstration program. And so she is one of the very first in the state of Missouri to work on converting not just one project, but her entire portfolio. So, you know, that's very, very creative, very innovative. She's really taking advantage of the resources that could be made available for the residents. And we are all very proud to be part of the Springfield Housing Authority's team. We salute you, Ms. Wolfram, for leading the way in both the state as well as the nation in participating and stepping out there to bring these resources to your community.
Thank you.
Okay, well, we'll open it up for any questions or last thoughts from anyone that is participating. Okay, well, we appreciate everyone's time today, and that certainly concludes Pinnacle on the Park outreach. And for minority contracting, Section 3, please feel free to reach out to our architect, the general contractor, any of us that participated today. We're happy to help you understand more. Here are the contacts for the architect, and here are the contacts for Josh Stringer that spoke representing Snyder. If you want to take a minute, we'll leave this up for a few minutes after the call if you just want to write down those phone numbers. And for those of you who need a little bit of help, the architect, John Oakey Thomas, you can reach him at JOHN@OKE-THOMAS.com. Or if you'd like to place a phone call, the number is 417-863-6262. And for the general contractor, that's Snyder Construction. Josh Stringer can be reached by email at j.stinger@snydercg.com or by phone at 417-877-6897. And again, thank you so much for your participation. This concludes the presentation today.